Welcome back, YouTubers. This is Inland Northwest Native News. I'm your host, Jeff Ferguson.
And I'm your co-host, Margo Hill.
All right. Well, thank you once again for joining us. So for those of you that were wondering, that's Margo in the intro there. War hooping around. We want to hear it. Dude, give us a good war hoop this morning.
People are sleeping. I'll scare the Suyapis. I'll scare them, wake up the neighborhood.
Just one chirp. All right.
He does that. We're at place and he's like, war hoop. And I'm like, you war hoop.
We caught her live. I think the sound on that one was at OMAC. I think that was at the
suicide race.
Yeah.
That's why I was really giving her heck.
Yeah. So we are today, it's Wednesday, and we are looking at the April 14th. We got a pretty good show today. We got some good content. We have a really exciting, well, I can't say it's exciting. It's a good story about the Kalama Tribe and some of the struggles they've been having that's really kind of taking the spotlight today, and we'll get into more of that. They got a lot of good momentum going. Deb Haaland was helping them out with what they're doing. And, as you know, or you may not know, as some of you may know, the Klamath Tribe was a tribe that was terminated, and then they were their federal recognition was reinstated. So that is just part of the struggles that they had. And we have two really short videos that we're going to share with you on some of the things that they have going on down in Oregon. So anyhow, that being said, we have we have a couple different things. We have the first thing that we have today. Did you have any shout outs?
Well, to Shawnee, because Shawnee Bear Cub, she brought the Klamath story to us.
Yes.
So shout out to Shawnee Bear Cub for sharing that.
Okay. And so we'll just go right into it then. Unfortunately, we kind of had some sad news here. This one's coming back from the 10th. If you hadn't heard, Ladonna, let's see, here we go. Ladonna Brave Bull was the DAPL protest leader. She had passed on. I have a moral obligation to protect the land and water for future generations. I am from the Cannonball River and the Missouri River. The camps were established in my backyard as they put this pipeline next to my son's grave. Who does that? I will not stop until this pipeline is out of the ground. And this one was a quote from a hearing that was back in 2019. Give you a quick shot again. Ladonna Brave Bull Allard was the founder of the very first camp for the protests against the Dakota Access Pipeline. Allard opposed Dakota DAPL from the beginning because it ran past her son's grave. Like other protesters, she was concerned that a spill would contaminate water sources as well as land that's sacred to Native peoples. She donated her family's land to serve as sacred stone camp for protesters. A member of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, Allard was the tribal historic preservation officer for a time. And she shared her deep knowledge of tribal history with the protesters who flocked to her land. She became a leader and a matriarch in the movement against Dakota Access Pipeline. Oh, wow, you're way ahead of me. All right, so yeah, that is Ladonna, and she took her family's land and opened it up for thousands, literally thousands of people, and it was the very first camp out at Oceti, or before Oceti, out at Standing Rock back in 2016, and so
that's really important, because often when we have movements or when we try to take action, the first thing they claim is trespassing.
Yeah.
That all these indigenous people are trespassing. It's like, how ridiculous. But when she donated her land for camp, people can't say anything because it's her private land.
And it was, it's this year is 5 years ago. If you think about that, wow, Standing Rock was 5 years ago, and to have somebody put their own family's land up like that, going in, I don't know that she knew how big it would grow. The impacts were global. We had movements all over the world supporting the peaceful efforts of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe and the protesters, and it was huge. We'll be talking about that for generations. What happened at Standing Rock, and that was the first
honor
one.
her and the people that were the spark, those young Native kids, and I didn't get to go, but you went and our tribal leaders went, and they had a fire and a circle, and it was probably the most inclusive Native gathering, and with those international folks coming in that we've ever seen.
Yeah, it was crazy. There were people from all over the world. It was neat to see indigenous people, and anyhow, she's walked on, and we just wanted to honor her. We raise our hands to her and thank her for the efforts that she did. She truly was a leader. So anyhow, we better keep moving. Our next story we have here was on the bill. So we saw this one go. This one is from the Jay Inslee, the governor here, and he went ahead and passed this, and I can pull this up from the office of the governor. Ladies and gentlemen, from Drew Shirk, Executive Director of Legislative Affairs, bill action April 14th, 2021. Governor Inslee will take action with the House bill commencing at 11 a.m. on Bill 1372 relating to the replacement of Marcus Whitman's statue in the National Statuary Hall collection with the statue of Billy Frank Jr. And the primary sponsor on that was
Deborah Leekenoff.
Yep. All right, very cool. We've been watching what their progress has been with that. We've been watching the progress that she's been making. She's doing all sorts of stuff. That's really exciting to see. So we're getting Whitman out, and we're getting Billy Frank Jr. in, and it's about time.
Yeah, Deborah Leekenoff, she's a Tlingit, worked, from the Swinomish to the National Congress of American Indians, but she's a powerhouse here in Washington State. She works around the clock. I've had her come and speak to my classes. She's fighting for the environment. She's fighting for the community all across the state.
Yeah, so that's pretty exciting. It's neat that happened. I don't know. I guess it's probably been about 3 months or so since we first started that story, and that's where we're at. Persistence pays off.
And Marcus Whitman, it's just such a symbol of colonization.
Mm-hmm.
These missionaries that were set out to Indian country to save the man and kill the Indian. So it's nice that we have one of our own, Billy Frank Jr., that was fighting for treaty and fishing rights, protecting the environment.
Yeah, protecting the environment. So that, in speaking of fish, we got a whole bunch of fish story coming up here. So this next story this actually was on KHQ.com, and we thank Shawnee Bear Cub for turning this on to this. And this actually I hadn't heard anything about this, but it all is happening as we speak. Tensions rise in water battle along Oregon-California line. This one actually came out of the Associated Press April 12th, and it has been an ongoing issue. Just to read a little bit of the article. Portland, Oregon, one of the worst droughts in memory in a massive agricultural region straddling the California and Oregon border, could mean steep cuts to irrigation water for hundreds of farmers this summer to sustain endangered fish species critical to local tribes. The U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, which oversees water allocations in the federally owned Klamath Project, is expected to announce this week how the season's water will be divided up after delaying the decisions a month. For the first time in 20 years, it's possible that the 1,400 irrigators who have farmed for generations on 225,000 acres of reclaimed farmland will get no water at all, or so little that farming wouldn't be worth it. Several tribes in Oregon and California are equally desperate for water to sustain threatened and endangered species of fish central to their heritage. So that's a very long article. We're going to leave the links to all the articles in the comment section below. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. We are monitoring the live feed here. If you guys have any questions you want to chime in. But we have a video here about Upper Klamath Lake and the Kalama Tribe. So we're going to share that one with you. And then we got a little bit about the Chuan Ceremony. So stick around. That's a really good one. Are we rolling? Rolling.
Doesn't look like it went.
Oh, there it goes.
We're a nation of people, and this is our Aboriginal homeland.
It's awe-inspiring, how the sun hits it and how the fog lays on the river. My dad used to train swimming across there. Those are things now you wouldn't even let your animal touch it.
The lake is essentially a toxic water body.
It doesn't smell very good, and it's green.
It's one of about 35,000 left on the planet.
These fish will most likely be extinct in less than 10 years.
We strongly believe, of course, that that's related to water quality. You can't have massive amounts of cattle trampling stream banks, defecating in the river.
I don't think Oregonians want to see this sort of situation occurring.
We are attached to them physically and spiritually.
We're going to fight you, and we'll fight you to the bitter end.
With respect to these fish, the clock is ticking, and we are running towards a cliff. Once they're gone, they are gone for the rest of time.
So that's a trailer for a video that they did that's about 20 minutes long. It is well worth watching. We watched it last night, and there's a lot of information in there. They talk about how the water levels are raised and dropped every year, and how a lot of the runoff from all the overgrazing and cattle has affected that lake to the point where the algae every year gets so bad it turns the lake green, and the fish die, and it becomes toxic. So yeah, we definitely got to keep an eye on that. Here's a quick video that they did. Is this the same one? That looks like the same one. So this next video is a video that they did tell you a little bit about the Kalama Tribe. As I mentioned earlier, the Kalama Tribe was one of the tribes that was terminated, and then they were reinstated their federal recognition. So they came back, and this is in their ancestral lands, Lake Klamath is, and this is what they're fighting for. So
the biggest mistake women can make when it comes to reducing wrinkles is not really...
Get that cut out for now until we get this going. We have kind of an update of somebody that helped out with this, and it was Deb Haaland. Deb Haaland helped these guys, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But for now, we have this video here. We'll cut to that, so go ahead and play that one. Oh, let's see if we can pull this back. So this is... it needed to be...
The biggest mistake women can make when it comes to reducing wrinkles is not really understanding where they come from. I'm 65, and for a long time, I was never able to get rid of my wrinkles or loosen.
So we're trying to start from the beginning because we watched it. And here we go.
And in the old days, the elders held the Chuan Ceremony, and the purpose of that was held about every, March was about the time that the Chuan, people call them the sucker fish, they're bottom feeders, and they migrate upriver about that month every single year. And I recall when I was a young boy, and we would come down to do the harvesting of the Chuan. And it was so numerous that Williamson River and the Spray, it appeared to be black. But there were so many fish, you could practically walk across the river on their backs. In the early 60s, when the termination came around, it basically, we kind of got away from the ceremonies, because when the realization of the termination came about, suddenly it appeared to us that we were no longer recognized as Indians or Native Americans. It was devastating, and then it also became against the law to hold our ceremonies. And little by little, they went by the wayside. And fortunately, someone looked at the termination again, and they decided at that time it was not good legality to have done that. So in turn, they gave our tribes back federal recognition. And that was in 1986.
Our Chuan, they've been listed as endangered since 1988. So we had scientists, and we developed a hatchery research facility to, we thought we may even have to spawn the fish to protect them from going extinct. Between 1986 and 1990, one of our elders basically said, it's great to have biologists and everybody working on this together, but we need to do first things first. We need to have this ceremony. We need to reinstitute that ceremony and pray to our Creator for the return of those fish, and perform the ceremony and thank Him for the fish, and do what we need to do first things first. And so that's what we're doing. We've continued to do that every year since then.
So it's a very important ceremony for us, because we consider these fish a part of us, and if they go away, we in fact may go away. So we take it very seriously. A lot of these prayers that the tribal members are involved in aren't just for us. They're for the whole world, for mankind. And that little fish in that water is an ecosystem indicator. Are we going to be on that same endangered species list if we don't start taking care of the earth and taking care of our water and our air? I think it's a very valid question. And that's what we pray for, is Creator to pave a clear way for us to clean it up for everybody.
All right, so we will leave the link to that video and the other video in the comment section below. That's a little bit of history on the Kalama Tribe and how special the Chuan are to the Klamath people. And so that's something that I think as a community, as a Native community from the Northwest, we need to pull together to work on this issue, because if they're as sacred to them as salmon are to us, and that is something that we cannot overlook, and we need to try to do something about that. We thank Shawnee Bear Cub for sending us that information on that story, and shout out to Maddie Arredondo, thanks for chiming in.
An amazing planner.
An amazing planner.
EW tribal planner. Yeah,
all right.
She's doing great things out there. She's been in housing, Spokane Transit Authority. Maddie Arredondo. And also Robert Hewitt. He's also one of our Klamath viewers.
Yeah, so we cannot really afford to wait when these issues come up. We have so much that's happening all around, with the Snake River, with the Columbia River and Grand Coulee, and all of these different things that are going. I think we really need to act when we can, and especially when we have support from people that are in power. Like this portion here is from Deb Haaland. Let's see if we can get that up. Yeah, there we go. Deb Haaland. Secretary Haaland withdraws 7 letters regarding Klamath Project issued from Trump administration, provides statement. In response to worsening drought conditions in the West, including in areas like the Klamath River Basin, Secretary of Interior Deb Haaland and Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack released the following statement after removing 7 memos, letters, and analysis related to the Klamath Project. Water is a sacred resource essential to feeding families, growing crops, sustaining wildlife and environment, and empowering agricultural businesses. Unfortunately, drought conditions in the West continue to worsen, including in areas like the Klamath River Basin, leading to the potential for historically low water allocations. The Departments of Interior and Agriculture recognize the urgency of this crisis and its impacts on farmers, tribes, and communities, and are committed to an all-hands-on-deck approach that both minimizes the impacts of the drought and develops a long-term plan and to facilitate conservation and economic growth. Our agencies are actively working with Oregon, California, and other western states to coordinate resources and identify immediate financial and technical assistance for impacted irrigators and tribes. We are committed to robust and continued engagement with state, local, and tribal governments to develop long-term measures to respond to climate change and improve water security. So, Deb Haaland is working on this. It's an issue that can be reversed. But it has to be done now if we want to try to save the fish. You know, those fish are endangered, and like he said, one of 35,000 left on the planet, and every year they're dwindling. So,
right,
yeah.
we get water bodies that are, you know, from the degradation. You know, we watch the film. It has to do with the cattle, and of course the overharvesting of timber. That was one of the reasons that the Klamath Tribe was targeted for termination, because they had these amazing, you know, redwood forest resources. They had great businesses. They were strong industry. So they said, let's go after those Indians. Let's start with termination there. And so it's really that over-harvesting of timber and all the cattle that cause these algae blooms in that lake. So we've got to act, and thank goodness Secretary Haaland's working on that.
Yeah, so we're going to have to keep an eye on what's going on over there, but it sounds like there's some good momentum headed in the right direction. So moving right along, we have a story on the Snake River. The Snake River.
The Snake River in the Pacific Northwest is the nation's most endangered river of 2021, according to a report released Tuesday by the environmental advocacy group American Rivers. Rarely has a river been in such need of bold, swift action in the Pacific Northwest's Snake River. American Rivers said, once the largest salmon producer in the Columbia River Basin, today Snake River salmon runs are at the brink of extinction. The loss of salmon is an existential threat to Northwest tribes who depend on the fish for their cultures and identities. Salmon are a crucial component to the Northwest economy. Recreational fishing in the Pacific Northwest generates more than $5.3 billion a year in economic and benefits, and it really supports 36,000 jobs, according to American Rivers.
That's a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of fish. And that's a lot of river. You know, the Snake River has been the lifeline for that region for a long, long time. And, you know, it's neat to see that there is movement, but it needs to continue. I know this article goes on to talk about the report suggests that to solve the problem, removing 4 dams on the lower Snake River in eastern Washington is essential, along with increasing flow over downstream dams. Representative Mike Simpson, Republican out of Idaho, proposed a $33.5 billion framework to remove the dams, recover salmon, and revitalize the region's infrastructure and economy. His proposal includes investments to replace the energy produced at the dams and increase the energy grid's reliability and upgrade transportation and irrigation services that the lower Snake River dams provide, the report says. Such a project would be the biggest river and salmon restoration effort in history. American Rivers President and CEO Tom Kiernan said that on the Snake River we have an opportunity for the greatest river restoration effort the world has ever seen. A well-crafted, comprehensive solution would be a down payment on a future of abundance and prosperity in the Pacific Northwest. That's a very bold statement. This is a very extensive article. Again, we'll leave the links in the comment section below. We've been watching what's going on, and we've been watching what's going on with our Simpson. You know, he's got a big push. I know, and I've heard that there have been organizations that pushed back on this, saying things like the dissolved oxygen and the turbidity levels and so forth would be too low. But, you know, it's like, where do you begin? You know, a $33.5 billion proposal is somewhere to start. And it's the biggest one ever proposed, and I think it has a lot of good things. There's always going to be kinks to work out. Hopefully they'll be able to do it in a short amount of time. We've been waiting for these kind of things to happen for decades, and the salmon aren't going to wait forever. The climate's not going to wait forever.
Right, and we know that all things are connected. You know, with the diminishment of the salmon runs, we see the orca whales struggling. And again, you know, I tell my students what a sad world it'd be if we don't have orca whales. And we're actually fortunate to have such beautiful wildlife and ecosystems in our state and across our region. The Inland Northwest is a beautiful place, but we've got to work harder to protect the environment.
We do. That we do. So we have a real quick announcement before we head into our final story. We have a fundraiser for boys basketball team, bake sale, and 50-50 raffle, April 15th, Welpinit Trading Post, 10:30 a.m. until they are gone. Come support Welpinit Warrior Kings. This is, what is it? I'm trying to read. Looks like Caden, Jesse, I can't read them all. It's got the funky font. And my eyes aren't getting any bigger. Any better. So anyhow, they're doing a 50-50 raffle and a bake sale fundraiser out in Whelpin at 10:30 on, that'd be tomorrow, the 15th.
Yep, tomorrow.
Oh,
So Verla Croshu sent that in. So I imagine Eugene's one of those players. But go out and support our youth. They're working hard to keep active and stay off those darn phones. So let's support them. Bake sale and 50-50 raffle.
Yeah, that's here. I got the last of the info. It says, Caden, Jesse, Mobear, Eli, Jordan, Uriah, and Eugene. You're right.
Oh,
Eugene.
yeah. And Uriah, my little nephews.
You're
the
right.
Tenasca boys.
And they're going to be going 50-50 raffle. Will go live on Facebook at 12 p.m. noon on April 21st. So, yeah, they'll do it live.
Yeah, Whelpin at Warrior Kings. Go out and support them.
All right. So, that being said, we're just about out of time. We have one video that we wanted to share with you, which is a pretty cool one. This one coming out of Vegas, baby. Let's see if we can get that rolling.
Cody J. Pion, your cousin, Cody. It's his birthday today. If you want to wish him a happy birthday.
All right. Happy birthday, Cody. Yeah. Boy, I just saw him about a month ago. That was good to see him. I haven't seen him in a while, but yeah. Happy birthday.
Yeah, very talented artist. We love to see what Cody's up to. Also, James Georgie Williams, his birthday today. Bobby Joe Sherwood Seymour, happy birthday to Bobby Joe. And then Joe Pacotis Jr., happy birthday, Joe Jr.
Joe Jr.
Yeah, so.
All right. So
covering all of our areas there.
yeah, that's great. Well, I think we're about out of time. So once again, we like to thank you for joining us. We're here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 a.m. to 8:30. And if you have any stories, feel free to send them. Send them our way. You can put them in the comment section on YouTube, or you can hit us up on Facebook, Inland Northwest Native News.
All right.
Like and subscribe.
She'uhoi.